A lot of people are not as interested in this game right now for a pretty good reason. The updates have been stale and comp is getting really difficult. I'm here to give you guys 10 tips to not be as bored on this game while you're playing it. Also, not only that, I'm going to explain some things that's going to hopefully relieve some pressure off you. Or even if that, maybe you can have just a little more fun with these tips. These are some things that I've done as well, but recently, I'm going to be honest with you, I haven't been playing as much as I used to. I've been switching over different games and trying out new things. Without further ado, the tip's going to be right above this webcam, and let's get started. I'd recommend watching the whole video through because these tips are tips that people don't really talk about, especially the tips I'm going to mention last in the video. But this first tip is something that you might have heard from other people, and it's to really make sure that you try out new inputs when you're playing the game. Whether you play on controller or you switch to keyboard and mouse, trying out new inputs is something that's going to keep the game fresh and bring back those old memories from when you first started playing the game. When I switched to controller for the first time a while back, it just brought back all these old memories, and I really had fun practicing and trying to get good again. Bringing over old skills that I learned from keyboard and mouse to controller was something that was a lot of fun, and some that might be slept on for a lot of people because they're probably not going to do that. A really big tip that I've learned from just having this set up in gaming for a long time is to just try not to play the game as much as you think you should be playing it. If at any point in time you're playing a game and the thought of boring comes to your head, then it might be a smart time to just take sporadic breaks throughout your time playing and switch it up so you don't get as bored as fast. When Fortnite first came out, it was a game that I played all the time. I non-stop played it for almost a year straight and enjoyed every second of it. Almost every single second. But more recently, since a lot of pros have been quitting and a lot of people have been leaving the game, I kind of am coming to the conclusion myself that this game is not as fun as it once used to be. So with that being said, I try out a variety of games and have fun playing new things. This is going to lead me into my next tip, is that even though you might think pros non-stop grind the game, when they're off stream or even on stream, people like Clicks play different scary games just to get that feeling of having fun playing video games. A lot of times, especially for people who are trying to go pro, they grind the game so much and they just non-stop think about the next win and the next time they can make money. That puts a lot of pressure on you and builds up this bad mentality for gamers, especially up and coming pro players, because the number one thing that drives a pro player is motivation. But the second you start losing that because the game starts to get boring, that's when it starts to get hard. Now that a lot of big content creators are coming out and saying they're leaving, I bet you $1,000,000 that a lot of people are also leaving and just dropping the pro thing. For some people it's a smart move, but if you're someone that really wants to make it work, I'm sure you'll find a way. You just have to find ways to constantly be motivated throughout your time playing. To conclude this tip, try experimenting with new games on the App Store that are either cheap or free. If it's a scary game, get a group of friends together and start playing and having fun. That way when you go back on Fort, it could be a little more fresh rather than just rinse and repeat every single day 24/7. It's something that people don't really notice because a content creator or a pro player focus so much on creating YouTube videos and content that are focused solely on one game. I know for a fact that off stream they do find time to try out new games. Lots of pros take breaks, so don't be scared to do that yourself, whether you're a pro or not. This next one is probably going to be the toughest one for a lot of people because we all know what it's like. I know that finding new people to game with can be rather difficult, but I promise you if you try to play with new people, it keeps the same game refreshing. Finding someone new to play games with is extremely difficult, and I know the struggle, but the best way to keep a game refreshing is to play with new people, to just experiment and have fun. Sometimes playing with people outside of your normal friend group can interest someone and make the game refreshing. I'm not saying to ditch your friends because I don't do that myself, but playing with new people is something that everyone does. So if you don't do that, try it out. Next, if you're one of those guys that practices in creative a lot, spend less time practicing in creative and grinding out mechanics and skills, and try and spend more time having fun or actually playing the game in arena, solos, or whatever you fancy. I know that's a little easier said than done since most people can't even play the game normally, but going into different creative maps, playing the game, and not grinding your mechanics will not make the game as dry to you because doing those things get hard after a while. I'm not saying ditch practice, but I'm just saying reduce the amount of time by like 15 to 20 minutes so it's a quicker warm up. That way you don't feel like you're being forced to do it, because if you're feeling like you're forced to do it, then chances are you probably don't want to do it. Then if you don't want to do it, then I can tell you right now that the game is getting dry for you and you need to try out the other options. But if you find your own ways to have fun on the game, that will motivate you to play it more. Next, when it comes to Fortnite, learning new retakes is something that doesn't really seem to get old for a lot of people. I can tell because a lot of my previous videos about retakes and other videos on YouTube about retakes always seem to stick around. That's about one of the only things that people can do without getting that frustrated. Granted, learning new retakes can be really difficult, but trying them out and learning them throughout the week is something that keeps the game a little bit refreshing. Quick side note, if you do this in creative, just listen to music because I promise you that will probably make it better. And if you're on console and you can't listen to music and play at the same time, then take a speaker and use it in your room while you're playing Fortnite. No matter what game you play, movement is extremely important. So one thing that might keep the game a little bit more refreshing is that the next time you watch a pro player or someone who's really good at the game, study their movement and try and implement their tactics into your game, because that that will keep the game a little bit more refreshing. Whenever you learn a new concept, applying it to something makes it really satisfying. This tip right here is for the amateur pro players. You need to stop worrying about trying to go pro. When you get so caught up in it, it puts so much pressure on you, which in turn makes the game really difficult to play. You find yourself getting mad at every little thing, which gets to your head eventually and makes you not want to play the game anymore. I'm not saying to quit, but I'm trying to tell you that if you feel like you're pressured to become a pro player, then you're going about it the wrong way. Because when you feel pressured, then it's going to eventually turn to stress, which is going to be the complete opposite of what you want. Keep your head high, and just because you're not making thousands of dollars like these pros doesn't mean you should feel bad about yourself. Just keep doing you, and if you enjoy playing it and enjoy the process, then do it, because that's what it's all about. If not, you might want to try to explore different areas of the game, or even the game itself. Explore different games. 3 more to go. For the love of God, stop worrying about having the fastest mechanics in the game. That does you no good. Comparing yourself to people in a negative way is possibly one of the stupidest things you can do. Mostly because I know from experience. A good way to keep a game refreshing is to know that you're not the best in the world, and that's okay. The other thing to do is to understand what makes you a unique player so you can build off that. It takes pressure off you so you can have a little bit more fun playing the game instead of just grieving over your mistakes every time you die. This last one is going to be more so a fact than a tip, but it's really important because I found it online and it's actually really interesting. At the end of the day, people like to learn new things. That's just how humans are wired. Games are a place to learn a crap ton of new things, including how to play, which is the main reason why people find it so addicting. But the second the story gets repetitive and it gets dried out, there's only so much you can do from there. If you don't learn anymore, you tend to get bored. If there's nothing more to explore, nothing more to learn, no new story being added, and especially no emotions being triggered, then this might be a sign that it's time to change. There's a large market of games out there that you never know what you actually might like. Even though my channel is Fortnite, I'm not going to sucker you guys into watching tips and tricks videos if you don't actually want to play the game. That's not what I'm about. The last and final tip is that if you really want to keep this game refreshing, keep it fun, and keep it exciting the next time you play, if you use code KenBeans, it's gonna help. I'm sorry if I trolled you guys right there, but I love you. In all seriousness, it helps support the channel, so use my code next time you're in the item shop because I can make more content like this. To wrap up the video, if you really are that bored, come through on my Twitch channel sometime, join the community Discord. I'm always talking to people in there. Follow one of my socials if you get that bored, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video. I love y'all. Deuces. Peace.